Welcome, everyone, to the first ever NFL award show from Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I am your host, Sean Gannon, alongside my partner, Jack McNicholas. We are here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. If you haven't had the chance, go check out our website, justsayingfootball.com, and follow us on Instagram at JustSayingNoG, for article and video updates. The Super Bowl is next weekend, so this week we're going to enjoy a little bit of an NFL award show. We're going to start it off right with the comeback player of the year. Jack, get us going with that. Who you got? Who are your top three?
Yeah, right now, my top three, starting at the bottom, my number three, Rob Gronkowski, just came back from his retirement. No one really expected him to come out with O.J. Howard being out on the Bucs. He was able to come out. Ben Roethlisberger, my number two, after last year having the elbow surgery. Obviously, he was injured. He came back. They had a good season until the end there. They made the playoffs. Big Ben. But the number one consensus, definitely Alex Smith. 17 surgeries on his leg. Undoubtedly able to just come back this year. He played 6 games, but this was a big one for him, and I was just happy to see him playing again.
Yeah, so my top three, I also went Gronk at number 3. Great season for a tight end. I went with Trent Williams at number 2, come back in that left tackle spot of everything with Washington. Did a fantastic job for them in San Francisco. Number 1, without question, it's Alex Smith. I think they need to rename this award after him. It should be the Alex Smith Comeback Player of the Year award. He wasn't supposed to ever be able to walk again. There was chances he was going to lose his legs. Yeah. Then he was never supposed to be able to run. Then he was never supposed to be able to throw. Then he was never supposed to be able to ever see a field again. And he did all of that this year. He helped out Washington so much. It has to go to him. I don't think it's even an argument.
First award for Alex Smith. For justsayingfootball.com.
Yeah,
comeback player.
First ever award. Congrats to Alex Smith. You're killing it. We both agree you deserve it. But moving on, I'm gonna get us kicked off right now with the coaches. Number 3, Brian Flores. Got to give him credit. 5 wins last year, 10 wins this year. This close to playoffs. This close. Next year, look out, guys.
Yeah.
Number 2, I got Ron Rivera. Everything was amazing. What he overcame with cancer, with how this team operated, what he had to do with all the changes at quarterback and what was going on. I thought it was incredible. But number 1, I give it to the rookie head coach, Kevin Stefanski, part of that Minnesota group for so long. He made absolute wave changes for this team. First ever winning season for 25 years. First ever playoff for this team. There's just so much that happened. This offense was clicking. This defense looked solid. They almost beat the Chiefs. They were so close. Got to give him credit on what he did this entire season. I believe he is the winner of the Coach of the Year coming up.
Yeah, that's a great pick, and I right here I have, for me, number 3, Ron Rivera. I have him as well here. Washington was able to make the playoffs despite the fact that they didn't have a winning season, but just considered for what he's doing. He had an entire QB carousel. He had Heineke, he had Dwayne Haskins, Alex Smith. These guys go on and on, but the thing is he only had a limited number of weapons. He had a rookie running back that he was able to produce. This defense played fantastic. And he really showed up this year when he had a lot of personal struggles, as you mentioned, his fight with cancer. And I think that's just something we have to give him credit for. He was able to bring his fight on the field and show it every week. Brian Flores, also my number 2. As you mentioned, big turnaround for Miami. He is definitely deserving of this, although they didn't make the playoffs. But the way he was able to make a huge jump developing these players, keeping people in the building, getting some of his guys over from New England, making Emmanuel Ogbah and Kyle Van Noy perfect fits for his system. I thought he did a great job at the secondary there. But my number 1 guy here is a little different from you, Sean McDermott. The Bills, I was big on the Bills all year. 13 wins, I think that getting to the deep playoff run, winning for the first time since 95 in the AFC East, he's my coach of the year, Sean McDermott.
I like it. I think Sean McDermott had a great season. I didn't even have him on my list. Now I feel terrible. Maybe I need to reevaluate. But moving on, Defensive Rookie of the Year candidates. You want to kick it off? You want me to?
We can both kick it off. You can definitely kick this one off because I know you've been very excited about a lot of these defensive rookies.
Oh yeah, number 3 coming in, Antoine Winfield Jr. His dad played for my team. I thought he was going to be great. I loved it when he went to the Bucks. Really wish that my Vikings could have somehow nabbed him, but we didn't. He had an amazing season. He's definitely a huge backbone and contributor to the secondary. He was missed in the NFC Championship game. Going to be healthy and back, it looks like, for Super Bowl, which is huge. So Patrick Mahomes, watch out. Number 2, we got Jeremy Chinn. He hurt my Vikings. He scored 2 touchdowns on my Vikings off of 2 fumble recoveries. Late round pick, showed up huge for this Panthers defense, was a really, really big bright spot in a rather weak defense, rather weak secondary. Just did a lot, made an immediate impact for that defense, which is huge. And number 1, it's the number 2 overall pick, Chase Young. Yes, he lived up to the hype. He did everything that was incredible. He was a menace on and off the field. People need to be terrified of him. Game plan for him. Mike Tomlin said that he doesn't want to play him again. He was fantastic. He lived up to everything. Yeah. Gotta give credit where credit is due. He, to me, wins Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of it for me is I'm looking at all of these incredible rookies, and it was a great draft class. My third is a little different than yours. I have Patrick Queen. I really love what the Ravens were able to do this year. You know, they had so many star playmakers, but he really stood out to me. You know, 112 tackles, 66 on himself. Just very impressive to me that he was able to make a lot of these plays with all the great talent around him. 10 games with 5+ tackles, as you know, a score. His first career score against the division opponent in the Bengals. I think that, you know, he was the only player with 100+ tackles. And I love it. He was able to help them to be the second best defense in the league and help them to a playoff. Jeremy Chinn at number 2 as well. He's my clear number 2. If Chase doesn't get it, it has to go to Jeremy Chinn. The way he was able to step up, be very versatile, and he was able to help this Carolina defense, as you mentioned, which struggled this year. He got those touchdowns. He was able to really put his name on the map. I think that he's very deserving of it. He had 112 tackles as a rookie, which I feel is absolutely insane. It's the same amount as Patrick Queen had, and when you're playing safety, you have a little more range there. But Chase Young, I love Jeremy Chinn, but Chase Young is my number 1 guy as well. As you mentioned, he has a complete direct effect on the wins for Washington, even though they didn't have him many. It was on him. The impact he was able to make playing around the stars he was playing. Since 2015, he was the second highest rated rookie besides Nick Bosa, former OSU Buckeye, and that he was the defensive player of the year last year. So this is going to be an interesting one. We got the same one here.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I think the most impactful rookie. He was definitely the most touted, talked about, hyped up rookie that there was outside of Joe Burrow. It was literally, everyone was talking about 1-2, 1-2, 1-2.
He's my number 1.
Yeah. You want him to go to the Bengals. Then they decided to go Joe Burrow. Boo-hoo. Oh, man, they're sore for that one. But moving on. Offensive Rookie of the Year. I'm going to let you go on this one. I'll let you go first.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, we have very, this one is just so interesting to me. I have James Robinson at number 3. He did struggle. He had games missing at the end, but I think what he was able to do undrafted, the standard that he was set coming in, he was supposed to be a backup guy. He had no preseason, no training camp, but he came in, got 1,000 yards. I just want to give it a shout out to him. He did a great job this year. He's my number 3. Number 2 is Sean's new best friend, Justin Jefferson. He came out he came out last year. I loved his route running. He showed that he translated that to the NFL fantastic, and he put up 1,400 yards. This guy is doing new things. He set a new bar for rookies, and I loved what he did this year. I'm going to give you a better take. I'll let you have your take on him, but my number 1 is Justin Herbert. This guy, in the beginning of the season, he was told he would have to wait behind Tyrod Taylor. An unfortunate situation with Tyrod Taylor led him into being the starter 5 minutes before the Week 2 game. He stepped in, became the first rookie ever with 30 touchdowns, we were able to see so much out of him this year. He's my number 1 this year, 4,300 yards over 66%. This guy translated to a different playbook, deep passing. We were able to see a completely different side of him. And, with all these weapons, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, he had the weapons there, but he utilized them well. He's my number 1 guy. What about your rookie of the years?
All right. I went different on number 3. I went running back, but I went with Jonathan Taylor. If James Robinson gets it, any votes, I am not disappointed. You're absolutely right. Undrafted, 1,000 yards. This was impressive. Really one of the few bright spots for that Jags offense. For me, it was just Jonathan Taylor, the last 5 games, rushing for 638 yards and 8 touchdowns on 105 carries. Just went on a tear towards the end there, what everyone thought he could be coming out of Wisconsin. My number 2 is your number 1. That's Justin Herbert. Yes, he set the record for most touchdowns by rookie, just beat Baker Mayfield's. He looked absolutely incredible, threw for over 4,000 yards, broke Cam Newton's total touchdown record. He had 36 on the total season. Cam only had 31. He had an amazing entire season. He missed the first game, I think it was. Did this in 15 games. This is really impressive, but want to move away from the quarterbacks all the time in that. And I am now, I'm going with Justin Jefferson at number 1. Look, as a Vikings fan, breaking Randy Moss's record, that's big. And that's what he did. He broke the franchise record for most receiving yards. Then he broke Anquan Bolden's record for most receiving yards by a rookie in a season. He made the Pro Bowl, was second team All-Pro, first player since Randy Moss to do that. Tied for first in big plays, which is yards of 20 or more catches. Really impressive for a rookie. I thought that he came in, he showed almost instantly, I'm a top 5 guy in the league, top 10 guy for sure. And I'm a Vikings fan. I'm biased. I can be honest. I'm not going to lie. If we didn't make the playoffs, I want offensive rookie of the year. And I think that's going to go to Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. I mean, here we are. I mean, this guy just showed out this season, later receiver drafted in a bloated first round. And he was able to
5th receiver taken in the first round, 5th receiver taken, and just 1,400 yards speaks for itself.
Absolutely. And now I'm thinking, I want to go back to you here. We were talking about defensive rookie of the year before. Who do you think was the best defensive player this year? Who's taking home the defensive player of the year trophy?
That's a tough one. As always, there's always a bunch of really good defenders, and for different reasons in the NFL. Some are really good at getting the quarterback. Some are really good at stopping the run. Some are really good at picking off quarterbacks. So I try to do a good combination of all 3. Number 3, I went Xavien Howard. We talked about it, getting 10 interceptions in a season is always really impressive. It's really hard to do. He led the league. He was a huge contributor to why this Dolphins defense was so successful at times, and was a menace for opposing quarterbacks. At number 2, I got Aaron Donald. He is probably the best defensive player currently in the NFL on a season-to-season basis. So it's weird that he's not number 1. He continues to menace anyone, getting over double-digit sacks, never missed a game. He's the best in the business at the defensive tackle position. But my number 1 goes to JJ Watt's brother, TJ Watt, from Pittsburgh. He was first in sacks, first in tackles for loss, first in quarterback hits, had an interception, 7 pass defended, 43 solo tackles. He was just on a tear this season. And like his older brother, JJ, he showed, I am one of the best edge defensive end rushers in the entire league. I am a game changer, and I am a force to be reckoned with. He was a pillar on the Steelers defense that did so well for so long last year and this year. I just think that he really came into his own and showed why the Watt brothers have some of the best football genes in the NFL.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, what a pick. TJ Watt right now, he's a hard guy to argue with. He is high up there. However, I am going to go here. I also have Aaron Donald at 3.
3?
I have him at
that
3.
low?
I have him at 3. I think that this year it was tough with the statistics when you look at it. A lot of people are looking at the game tape. It's tough with defensive tackles until you have a guy like Aaron Donald getting 20 sacks a season. That's where he's been defensive player of the year twice. He was back-to-back defensive player of the year. I think that we talk about a lot how when we pick these awards, there's a certain standard. He has been held to the highest. This year he had 13.5 sacks, which is still the second most of his career. But, it was tough. He had 14 tackles for loss, which was his lowest. But I got to give a shout-out to him. He played fantastic and really helped this Rams defense. They were number 1. He was a big reason for that. TJ Watt, number 2. He in almost every defensive major category, as you mentioned, this guy showed out. This is your number 1 guy right now. Looking at it with all the people that he lost around him, Devin Bush and Bud Dupree, he was still able to impact the game. He was still able to get 15 sacks. I think that you were right. The genes in that family are
Next level.
they
It's
are
like the Bosa
next
Bros.
level. And
Next level.
it's just it's hard when you see two brothers in the NFL. You never see it. You always wonder if the second one coming in will meet the expectations. But here, TJ Watt is killing it. He's my number 2. I got a surprise pick here for my number 1. Then your number 3 is my number 1, buddy. Xavien Howard is my defensive player of the year. He had 10 picks this year. The way he was able to lock people down this year, he had 10 interceptions, as you mentioned. That is absolutely insane. You know, the last 49 years is the 17th guy to do that. That is a lot of years, not a lot of people. Guys like Champ Bailey, Antonio Cromartie have done that great cover corners. We got to see Stephon Gilmore kind of break that barrier of getting the Defensive Player of the Year award last year, and it was because he was able to shut people down so well. I know that Xavien Howard had a lot of, you know, he had a big one, but when he needed to show up in Week 17, he did against Josh Allen. He came in from the beginning to the end and played fantastic, only allowing 51.5%, and I think that he is my guy. But, you know, that's the beauty of this is that we're going to disagree. And the great thing is like the positions is both of these guys definitely deserve to win. I don't want that at all miscue. I think that TJ Watt and Xavien Howard, Aaron Donald, any of these guys, as Sean said, the position breakdowns here, you got to look at them all different. It was a good season for all of them.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, especially with defensemen. It feels like there's always some great defensemen. And it's the same with offensive player of the year for me. Look, my number 3, it's Deshaun Watson. Look, people might have liked the 4-12 season. I get that. I don't like a 4-12 season when I'm watching, I think, one of the best quarterbacks in all football play his best season of his career. Look, 4,823 yards, threw for 70%, was completing 70%, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 90 rushes, 444 yards, 3 touchdowns, had no run game, little offensive weapons. The one weapon that he did have in Fuller missed the last 4 of the 5 games. He struggled. Like they didn't have the weapons. He didn't have a head coach. He didn't have a GM. It was all over the place. And now he wants out, and I respect it and I get it. I feel like I've mentioned on the show, Watson deserves to be on a winning team, but his season was spectacular. He is the only quarterback in NFL history to have a losing season and still have a QBR rating of over 110. He finished the season with 112. That's fantastic. He showed at 25 years old that he is a franchise guy for any team and can make any team good when he has some team around him. Okay.
Anyone.
And then he'll win it. But number 2, Derrick Henry. What a season he had. He was fantastic. Only the 8th player ever to get 2,000 yards in a season. And when you thought that he wasn't going to get it because he needed 223 yards in the final week, he decided, I'm going to get over 250 yards and I'm just going to break that and then some. You can't sleep on that. It's not often that a running back does that. Like we said, 8th player in NFL history to do that. That's hard. But my number 1 is a man who has hurt me. And that's Davante Adams. I thought that Davante Adams was the best wide receiver in all of football. And right at the line of contact, he didn't even need to touch the cornerbacks to get away from them because his footwork was that good. 18 touchdowns, 7 games with over 100 yards, finished the season with 1,374 yards, was the first player in NFL history with 100 plus receptions. That's 115 and 18 touchdowns. He did this all with only missing 2 games, and he scored a touchdown 8 straight games from week 7 to week 14. He had a beast of a season, and it's time that we start to get wide receivers more in this conversation of offensive players of the year, because he was a huge contributing factor to an MVP candidate doing so well this year, and Aaron Rodgers. And he didn't make any contact a lot of the time with cornerbacks to get away from them. That is so impressive to have that footwork. People need to understand how good he is.
No, you're right. And it's so crazy how well he was able to just tear people up. And I'm very sorry you have to play that guy twice a year.
It's not fun. It's not fun.
I mean, and the 3 guys I have here, none of them are fun to play. I got Travis Kelce at number 3. I gotta give him some shout out. Sean just mentioned we gotta give shout outs to the wide receivers. A tight end winning offensive player of the year would be absolutely fantastic in my mind. I think that it's never happened. It would be crazy. He broke the record. He was on an insane offense, obviously, but the things he was able to do this year, the way he was able to just be creative, he had huge games. I mean, 7 games with 100 yards is enough for me to say, wow, at the tight end position nowadays.
That's what Davante Adams did at wide receiver.
But here we are. But and both huge weapons because number 2, I have Davante Adams because both of them so dangerous. He was absolutely electric, as you mentioned. He had 18 touchdowns. The fact that he missed games, the way that he was able to just take over. Obviously, he has Aaron Rodgers, but there are plays that this guy takes for 5 yards. He really impacts the whole game. He's unstoppable on the goal line. 18 touchdowns is just absolutely fantastic from the wide receiver position. You cannot ask for any better nowadays. I mean, it was an absolutely fantastic season from 115 catches. You got to give him a bunch of votes this year, 100%. And although you mentioned we can't give too much love to the running backs, Derrick Henry is my offensive player of the year this year. I think that although we don't like to talk about how we like to talk about consistency and not the big burst games, he did have a lot of big burst games this year. Over 3 games this year with over 200, 10 games with over 100. He was consistent. The Titans were able to get into the playoffs. This is one of those things where they were able to dominate their division at points this year. They were able to be very competitive. 17 rushing touchdowns will do that. 2,000 yards will do that. This is a historic season for him. I think that we need to give Derrick Henry a little thing for the trophy case. So he is my offensive player of the year.
This close to the Super Bowl last year, a little bit farther this year, but definitely deserves some hardware going in his house. I could see him winning it. Not all these guys could win it. They all deserve it. Adams will. Yeah, they all really do. Moving on, speaking of Derrick Henry, for my top 3 MVP candidates, leading off at number 3 is Derrick Henry. I felt like Davante Adams was offensive player of the year because Derrick Henry was going to be more in that MVP consideration. Like we mentioned, 8th player in history for 2,000 yards. Jack just talked about him. You guys don't need to hear me chew your ear off. At number 2, it's Josh Allen for me. I was not big on Josh Allen. I will be very upfront with that. I did not think he was going to be a very good quarterback in the NFL. And then they got Stephon Diggs, and his jump from his year 2 to his year 3 was incredible. It just doesn't happen that often. It was really so much fun to watch him play and excel at the quarterback position, throwing for over 4,500 yards, getting over 35 touchdowns, only turning the ball over 10 times, running the ball so well, getting 8 touchdowns on the ground, running for over 400 yards as well. Was a huge contributing factor, was the contributing factor for them going 13-3, winning the AFC East, making the playoffs, setting these historic marks. And I think that needs to go in consideration. I think that he should definitely be up there in the top 3. But number 1, similar to Davante Adams, a guy who hurts me all the time, and that's Aaron Rodgers. He is just so good at football. It is so much fun to watch him play, even when it's at the cost of my teams. Fun fact, so he won the MVP in 2014. That was a great season, right? You win the MVP, you got to be really good. He had the same amount of interceptions as that year. That's only 5, very small amount, not a lot. And he decided to throw 10 more touchdowns than that season. He threw 38 that year, and he threw 48 this year. So he went 48-5 in touchdown interception ratio. Oh, and he decided to increase his completion percentage from 65% to 70%. He was just the best quarterback, I think, in all of football this season. He was just dominating in all single phases, won the NFC North, made it to the NFC Championship game, got their first seed. I thought that he had an incredible season, deserves to win this MVP award. I think that while everyone else had amazing season, this was just one of those, MVP caliber type seasons that you wanted to see from Aaron Rodgers, and he did it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sean's MVP, Aaron Rodgers. You know that he had a good season if Sean's picking him, and wow.
Yeah, I would not if I felt like there was a chance that someone else could really win this. Trust me, I would do anything to not give that man more hardware or more praise.
Yeah, I mean, I won't even spoil it, but I got to tell you what he did. It's hard for me. It was hard for me to judge this one for my MVPs because mine are the exact same. I got Derrick Henry number 3. Like I literally wrote in my notes. I'm sorry, 2,000 yards. 2,000 when MVP when Adrian Peterson came back from his ACL, he got 2,000 yards. We didn't give him the MVP because he came back. You gave him the MVP because he got 2,000 yards. It's historic. It's not going to probably be done for a little while. Derrick Henry should be in the conversation. It's a tough one. That's why I got him so high. My offensive player of the year and my offensive player of the year number 1, Josh Allen. Diggs was a huge help, but wow, 13 wins, 3 fourth quarter comebacks. He every expectation that I had for him going into this year, he just blew it out of the water. He threw 37 touchdowns, 10 picks. We didn't see that weird running scramble, get out of the – he was comfortable this year. He was good. Josh Allen, we were talking about maybe dark horse MVP, but, oof, man, Aaron Rodgers, you really did it to us this year. You are my MVP as well, and you deserve it. Seriously, that TD interception ratio Sean mentioned 45-8. That sounds almost made up. That sounds like
it's Madden.
It's Madden.
It's Madden career.
And this will be his 3rd MVP, adding to his huge resume if he does get it. And just the first seed in the NFC, they were able to be the best team in the conference with all the competition the NFC had this year. He was able to dominate in big games. I am excited to see what he does in this offseason.
Yep, it's going to be really fun offseason in Green Bay, I think, from an outside of Green Bay fan perspective. But those are our picks. Those are the guys that we think are going to be receiving the most votes. Our number 1s being who we think are going to win. We did our best to base this all off of just the 17 weeks of the regular season. Obviously, some playoff stuff slips in there when you lock up the first seed, get that second seed, stuff like that, or have just an incredible season. So award show comes out on February 6th for the NFL, the actual award show. When you guys want to tune in, see what the NFL writers and thinkers give, see how well we do as well. Thank everyone for tuning in. Thank everyone for listening.
Yeah, absolutely. And we always appreciate you guys watching, and thank you for tuning into our first ever award show for the NFL. This is going to be an incredible end to the season here. We got our Super Bowl show coming up. We got a whole bunch of stuff coming up for you. Check it out on our YouTube and our website, justsayingfootball.com, and Just Saying Football, the channel on YouTube. And always check us out on Instagram for all your updates, Facebook, Just Saying No G WJS. Have a good night. Enjoy the awards.
Enjoy.